from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today, I'm very pleased. Joining me from the West Coast in the US, Kiran, co-founder, CTO and CPO of Securin. I hope I pronounced that right, Kiran. So the way I love to do it is I keep it to my guests to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit more about their background, their journey, and then we can start to take it from there, talk about, Securin, the reason you started. But let's start from your journey first and what brought you to this world of cybersecurity, I would say.
Absolutely. Hello, listeners, and thank you, Mehmet, for having me on the show. My name is Kiran with a long last name, Chinnagangannagari. There will be no quiz on that one. You can just call me Kiran. Like Mehmet said, I'm one of the co-founders, also the Chief Technology and Product Officer at Securin. And here at Securin, we are on a mission to make the digital universe a safer place. Just in a very brief nutshell. My background, especially into tech and cybersecurity, I would just say that, it wasn't like a aha eureka moment or anything like that. It's just more about, using the technology over a period of time and slowly realizing that it's the glue, right? It's the backbone of everything we do today, right? And I felt that, that is the area I want to be part of. And, so I started my journey long time ago and, eventually got to the point of, taking large complex projects and leading large teams and organizations. And I always like to be, focused on problem solving. I love problems and I always look at problems and see how we can solve problems, especially even if that makes the life easy for everybody. And cyber is one of those areas where I feel like there is a lot of challenges, there's a lot of problems to solve. I got attracted to it, and that's got back into Securin, the evolution of the foundation of Securin.
Great. We have a lot to discuss with you, Kiran, today. By curiosity, always, of course, especially in cybersecurity, we have plenty of problems, right? So, but you are into an area which is coming more and more important in cybersecurity. So tell me, of course, like I'm not putting myself into the space of an investor or like something like this, but like the first question when a new company start, like why are you starting this company? Like what kind of problems actually we are trying to solve, Kiran, when it comes to I'm gonna leave it for you, managing the security postures that and the threats that we have. Tell me a little bit more about the story behind Securin.
Yeah, 100%. So the kind of the foundational crux of how we started Securin is Securin was, I would say, was born out of frustration, right? Frustration that, and if I kind of give an analogy of if I have a time machine and go back and fix things, I would do, right? The reason for that is, there is there are a lot of companies in cyber, that provide a lot of different tools and products and services, but they're super expensive. And businesses were trying to use it, but they were super expensive. Again, one more analogy is almost like, it's not that, businesses don't know how to swim, but the life jackets are very expensive, right? Or too complicated to use, right? So we thought, why don't we create like a life jacket that's very accessible, right? It's easy to use, and it's just more importantly, proactive and actually keeps you afloat, right? That was the crux of how Securin came into existence. Our goal is to democratize security with innovative cybersecurity products, all SaaS-based products, and very easy to use. And more importantly, it's proactive so that customers can get advanced notification about some threat or any bad actors posing a risk to the organization. And that's what it is, right? So we imagine a universe where any business, no matter what the size of it is able to afford a cybersecurity solution, right? and can have an active shield against these bad actors. That's what we are about. That's what is Securin about. That's the first one. The second one that we saw at the industry is there are a lot of tools that are in isolation. So if you look at security posture, you have to look at application. You have to look at when you are actually writing the code, when you actually also have to look at as you're deploying it, right, in the CI/CD, and then once it goes to production. So there are at least like half a dozen to dozen number of tools in our organization that are all screaming saying that pay attention to me, pay attention to me. I have some warnings, right? And there is not a good tool or a vendor out there that brings everything together and shows them a unique view or a unified view of all the different exposures and threats the organization is having, and more importantly, validate them, right? And show them that, hey, I'm able to discover these threats in your organization. Oh, by the way, I can help you prioritize it. Oh, by the way, I can validate, right? And then once you fix it, right, being able to validate it and then provide that overall feedback. So that's what we are trying to do. One is provide a easy mechanism for any customer, any business, any size to be able to afford a solution. It's easy to use, it's proactive, and also it unifies all of these different toolings into one.
That's great. Of course, I'm expert, but of course, I'm asking this question for the people who might be interested in cybersecurity, but they don't have that, I would say, deep knowledge. We know like cybersecurity comes in different levels, right? So,
Sure.
so you have the identifications, and then you have the actual actions, and then you have the incident response. So where in which position, or where in the stack does Securin fit here?
No, that's a really good question, Mehmet. So I would say that, we were more on the proactive side, not the reactive. Like, so in your example, like, when you look at SIEM and all of it, after the logs are done, right? After the incident is done, they look at the logs and analyze that. We're looking at proactively. We're looking proactively and say, if a vulnerability is going to get exploited in a while, the way we do it is, we get the data from multiple different sources, like 1,500 sources from deep and dark web, surface web, and a whole bunch of sources. We actually take all of that, this unstructured data, sanitize that, process it through 30 different machine learning algorithms, and then we make sense out of the noise to come up with some signals for a customer to use. So in that regards, we have what's called as attack surface management. It's an external view for a customer, like, what's a hacker able to see, like, a hacker's view for a customer. The second one is our vulnerability intelligence. It gives that intelligence, which you normally won't get, right? So being able to proactively look and say, I am going to get it, I have a signal here saying that this vulnerability is going to get exploited in the next, X number of days. I need to proactively do something, whether patch it, take down, put some compensating controls or anything like that. Then you can think about an application side of it, right? As developers are writing code, how do we ensure that, these are the issues they are having when you use open source packages or supply chain risk and everything. So again, how do we prevent, any bugs or vulnerabilities getting into the system before it? So everything is about proactive, so being able to shift left and make sure that developers are writing the code, proper way, or making sure that they are using secure code and secure practices, secure by design, and all of it. And then once it goes to production, like being able to monitor proactively before a threat happens.
Right. This brings, the question, Kieran. So traditionally, the posture of an organization were very limited, right? So back in the days, probably it's just their domain, maybe a couple of their, certificates that they might have, you know, put there, and people try to, impersonate these certificates. But now, I know this for a fact, there's a lot of things going on there. If you want to at least, tell us, because domains, certificates, everyone knows about that now, but of course there are kind of emerging like new threats, I would say. So what are like the current ones and the emerging ones that you are seeing them a lot nowadays?
Yep, I'm gonna age myself when I say it, Mehmet, but you brought memories of Raptor firewall in like back in the day. That's right. About the only thing, you put a firewall in front of a server and you call it good, right? And you say that, I have the best security. Now you have 20 different tools and still, you're not sure, if you're secure because you don't know where a bad actor is going to come in, right? And it could be some insider threat too. So it's interesting, you brought up that question. Hey, so going back to your question, right? What are some of the current and emerging threats? And we would say that, it's almost like a Pandora box of cyber threat. Where do we even start, right? Especially, if you look at, some of the recent attacks and everything, right? SolarWinds is a good example. I don't want to make them as a back posture child or anything, right? Supply chain attacks, right? This is happening quite a bit. And it's almost like, not only you want to rob a bank, but you also want to steal the keys from the locksmith. So what do you do with it, right? Right? Let's get up the details. So again, so supply chain is one we are seeing quite a bit. The second one is, with AI now, right? It's almost like, you're giving this, villains in the comic book, supercomputers, and they're getting badder faster, right? So not only, we are looking at, how do we use AI, for proactively defending, but the bad actors also using it, right? For offensive side, right? So this is like a, two-way, so how do we make sure that, we are understanding the goodness of AI and also understand like how we use it, for defending our networks and our organizations, but also how do we know how bad actors are using it for bad purposes and understand that. So that's the second one. And the other one I would say is, the ransomware, like, this is something you probably see, you type in ransomware, you probably see like 3 or 4 different breaches or attacks, every single week or so. Again, like, how do we protect ourselves, right? A little bit of proactiveness need to be there. Organizations have to be aware of, the cyber threats and cyber hygiene, all of it. So I did a lot, but I would say these are the 3, I would say, the primary ones that, we are seeing are emerging. The supply chain, the AI related one, and then the ransomware associated breaches, especially in some specific verticals like healthcare and, telecom, we're seeing an increasingly more and more attacks, from ransomware or, or in advanced persistent threat groups.
Yeah. Kiran, how much is the maturity of people when it comes to the supply chain surface attacks? Because, I think we've seen a lot, but it seems like we are not learning, and it seems like still customers are underestimating. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it is getting better. I would say, it's not completely the fault of the, I don't want the blame game here, Mehmet, right? If you look at, what is happening is like, the attack surface has changed. Like you said, like back in the day, it was just a certificates and, 3 computers, with a firewall, right? Now you have, explosion of, smart devices, IT, OT, that have exploded, right? We have smart devices with AI, like Apple Intelligence or AI Intelligence built, right? My home at least have like 40 or 50 devices connected at any given point in time, right? From thermostat to water sprinklers, to lights and, a whole bunch of stuff, right? I don't know, where, these devices are being manufactured from, the firmware is up to date, and I try to do a good job at it, because I have a little bit of, more, experience in the cybersecurity because I deal with it every single day. But, most of the businesses, that's not the primary focus. They are looking at, running the business. Like if it's a retail, it's clothing, right? I want to sell clothes, right? Cyber is important, but, how much of, is that a priority for them, right? So it's not that, organizations are not, spending time and focusing on it, but it's a constant struggle, right? It's always about, how do you make sure that, you have a good, security program, right? Within the organization, training and all of it. How do you make sure that, you are secured by design, right? If you're a product company, and making sure that, your products are built with security by design, whether it is you developing or, you buying your products. I think CISA has done an amazing job within US to push that. And then organizations are slowly embracing that, saying that, I have a lot to do as a vendor, right? So saying is from a, the consumer too. I think, organizations are realizing that, I can't 100% rely on a vendor. I need to do my part, and I need to make sure that, I do training. I need to increase my cyber hygiene or better my cyber hygiene. So I think it goes both ways.
Right. Now, you mentioned AI, which is very interesting, topic, I believe. So when it comes to how, let's say, the bad actors are currently using the AI. And because, I know like you get access to a lot, and you mentioned like from dark web, from different places, to get the intelligence. How are you seeing, the threat actors are leveraging or like misutilizing, let's say, the AI when it comes to the new wave or the emerging threats?
Yep.
Any use cases you can share?
Yeah, I would say that, there are a couple of them. So doing the phishing emails, right? That's the number one attack vector. Like, when you look at all the different attack vectors, like, phishing is the number one. It's the easiest one and it's most effective one, that you send an email to, a user in an organization that is completely unaware of, what that is. They click on a link and then malware get deployed, right? So the phishing emails have got a lot better. In the past, you used to be able to at least look at it and say, hey, this is a bad email, and I know that's the phishing. With AI now, right, they are using ChatGPT or some other tool, Gen AI tool, to actually write a email that looks very, very, trustworthy, right? It's almost like it coming from a CEO or a leader in an organization or your vendor, right? So that's one. The other one we are seeing is organizations are using AI. A lot of organizations are experimenting because the boards are asking, hey, what do you do? What are you doing about AI in your organization? So they are experimenting. They are trying to, play with it, right? But they are not realizing that, within, the AI, when they're deploying like a LLM, within the organization, like open source or anything like that, they don't know what is behind the scenes, right? That's a supply chain, right? Imagine like, you are adding a malicious package inside a, package, which is used on your, LLM, like, it's not be directly used like a, directly like a one that you can understand. Like it's like a second or third layer, down, right? And that has a malicious, package inside it, right? Or malicious, payload inside it, right? Now organization is having it, right? So those are some of the ones, we are seeing, quite a bit. The other one I would say is, it makes it, faster for a bad actor to come up with payloads, like, POCs or exploit code. In the past, you have to spend time understanding, how does this software weakness or vulnerability can be exploited, right? I was just telling, my team yesterday or, last week, right, see how easy it is, with some of the AI tools, to be able to, take a vulnerability and write a, proof of concept or exploit code, right? Usually it would have taken a lot of time, right? Now you're able to do it, within a fraction of a minute. So bad actors are using it efficiently. And we are seeing some of that, in the industry, like, where these POCs and exploit codes are being written by bad actors. And, and we're seeing some of those threats on that side. So again, so AI is useful. I'm not saying that, don't use it at all. I think it's the double-edged sword. As much as, we want to embrace it, bad actors are also embracing it for nefarious purposes.
Absolutely. Like I was, to your point, Kieran, I was here, like in the morning when I drop my daughter to school. So I was hearing on the radio a guy from the IFC, which is Dubai International Financial Center, and he's saying that these bad actors are becoming so sophisticated in writing the emails, the phishing emails or the scam emails, in a way that you can't even think this is a scam. It's like so well crafted. They are using AI, of course, right? And like one of the things, because usually like these people, you know, probably English is not their first language, so usually
Right.
they used to do some spelling errors or mistakes. So now they are using, AI. I use it, by the way. So I say proofread this for me, and then it gives me the right spelling. So they're becoming so sophisticated.
Yeah, and
And
not just the
yeah.
emails, Mehmet, right? Now you think about, being able to take, glue a couple of pictures on internet of you
Oh yeah.
and then come up with a video and send it to somebody saying that, hey, hey, I need you to do something, right? Or maybe able to do a call on a WhatsApp or video call, with your
Right.
face, implied and on it, right? The other person, I mean, and AI has become so really good at, coming up with images and videos. Like it's very hard to distinguish, it's whether really, you or somebody else, that is behind the scenes. So not just the phishing emails from emails, but also video and images, and also all of them have, increasingly become, very, very sophisticated and really good at it. And which is good for good uses, but also for bad purposes.
Of course, 100%. And I want to, focus on something because I think, although like I had a lot of episodes with cybersecurity leaders and co-founders like yourself, Kiran, the 0 day, and AI made the 0 day much easier. And you just gave an example. So for some of the folks who listen to the show, why 0 day is something like you should, as even business, I mean, not technical guy, as a business guy, you should also understand what's a 0 day, and you need to ask your team, what are we doing about the 0 day. So if you can just little bit explain zero
Yep.
day on a very high level, of course, and how it relates to what you do at Securin also.
Yeah, 100%. So 0 day is, again, from a layman's term, right? You have a software vulnerability, but there is no patch. Basically, you have a disease, but there is no cure. And bad actors are using that, this is like a virus, right, to infect people, and there is no cure for it, right? So your goal essentially is to, how do I make sure that I don't get this virus, right? So how do I contain my organization and shield it and protect it, right, before it spreads? So that's the whole idea of, 0 day. Even 0 days, again, right, with AI, we haven't seen a lot of those, that are being actually used, for 0 day, but that don't only mean that, it's not there, right? You're slowly seeing an increase and uptick in the number of, these AI related, exploit codes and all of it. And so 0 days are also there, like very few though, but I feel like, they're going to increase over a period of time. So again, why is it important? Because there is no patch for it, right? It's almost like, hey, you're leaving the door of your organization open or your house open, right? And there is no way to close it, and bad actors can easily come in, right? So because there is no patch, this is the entryway for a bad actor to come into organization and pose a risk. From one server, they can do a lateral movement and escalate, their privileges and get to the domain controllers or, keys to the castle or whatever, bad stuff, right? Worst case is, a ransomware group coming in and taking over your entire organization, laptops, desktop, server, infrastructure, lock it, and then, ask you for, Bitcoins and, a whole bunch of stuff, right? So that's the risk with 0 days. So whenever there is a 0 day, and if it is impacting your organization, products that you're using, you want to pay attention to it, right? And see if there is a way to control it, right? Sometimes, because there is no patch, right, either you put some kind of compensating controls, or if you can, right, take it down until you have a mechanism, which is hard to do. Like, if you have to completely take down a production system, which is critical to organization. So in that case, keep a close eye on it and monitor it. So that's what, you do. In terms of what Securin is doing is, we are looking for those type of things, right? We're trying to figure out, before something happens, like how can we identify which vulnerabilities are likely going to get exploited, right? And if we are able to find that and proactively tell a customer that, this is what is going to happen, then organizations have a better chance of protecting, themselves from it. So it's like, we're not just telling you that it might rain, but we are telling you that, hey, you need to bring an umbrella because, there is a hurricane coming in, right? And so Securin is actually there to help prioritize, what needs to be fixed and what are the things you need to focus on proactively before it becomes a hurricane.
I love this, similarity, Kiran. Very, very. It's like make it clear to everyone, I believe. Um, Now I'm gonna ask you this question, and allow me to put myself maybe into a CISO person here now, because of course I know how important, you know having a solution like yours, Kieran, is important for the environment. But let's say, and we talk about technology, we talked about, how you're helping them in understanding. So today, if I implement the solution at, in my environment, I mean your solution,
Yep.
I love always to tie it up with like the benefits, the direct benefits of the direct outcomes, I would say, that I would have when I so tell me how you're gonna help organizations when you start to implement the solution for them. This is what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, sure. So again, going by chronology, right? So think about Securin as your weather service, right? We can forecast and predict, when it is going to rain. and we can forecast and predict, when hurricanes are going to come, right? So again, ways are in hurricanes, if you bring it back to the cybersecurity side, right, when the vulnerability is something that you have to pay attention, right, it is going to have a bad impact, right? And more importantly, when you bring it, like a hurricane, something, when a bad actor like ransomware group or, threat actor is going to be leveraging that one. So that's that's it. First and foremost is what Securin can do, right? Being able to proactively look for, threats before it actually has a bad impact, on your organization. The second one is, being able to look end to end, right? We talked about multiple different tools, but these tools
Right.
don't talk to each other, right? So if I'm a CISO, I have, 15,000 vulnerabilities and, maybe, a 500,000 findings, right, associated with it, right? How do I actually understand where to do prioritization, right? Because not every vulnerability in a finding is equally important. So you need to be able to do it. But more importantly, how do I understand where these are coming from, right? Being able to walk back and understand that, hey, this application is sitting on a container and this container is running on, Azure or AWS infrastructure. And this was, both the application and the deployment was done using this particular CI/CD process, and he is the one that actually wrote the code, and this is the repo in Git, right, GitHub, GitLab, whatever it is where the code is, right? So if you can work backwards as a CISO and actually go back and say, hey, these are where my issues are, right? The root cause of it, right? Don't just try to be a bandage because it's like a whack-a-mole game. If you fix, 100 vulnerabilities tomorrow, I bet you'll have 100 more new vulnerabilities that you have to deal with, right? So the best way is, move back and see where those are, like, shift left, understand that, hey, let me work closely with the developers to understand, how they're writing the code, what packages are using, right? What type of, code is being written out, are they effectively writing it or not, right? And then as we're doing it, right, deploying, making sure that, hey, we're not putting any secrets, we're not putting any access keys, we're not actually writing, code which will create, bad infrastructure, when it is deployed, right? And as we building these containers and all of it, right? So that's what, a CISO is going to be looking for end to end. And, as, a effective CISO, I would say, right? Not just looking at, a point in time, hey, I have these, 100,000 vulnerabilities, let me prioritize, but I also understand the root cause of it. That's where Securin can come in and help. Bringing all these different tools into one place, have a unified view and able to tell the story of, hey, these are where, your root causes and issues are, and how do you, actually start proactively focusing on those ones.
Absolutely. Now, we talked about multiple emerging trends and we talked about, some of the existing threats also as well. If we want to look into the future a little bit, Kieran, like, let me ask you this question first. Um, when are do we expect, let me ask it this way, do we expect like ransomware after a while, for example, to become something from the past? Or is it like the epidemic, let's call it, that it gonna stay with us, we don't know, for an unforeseen future?
Oh gosh, I wish I have a crystal ball. Cybersecurity, none of us know where we are going, especially like, with AI. It's like a black box in AI, so we don't know what is going to happen, right? It's for the first part, right? I'm learning and evolving every day, right? My knowledge around cybersecurity. So I wish I have an answer to that question of, is that eventually going to disappear? If I have to guess, I think it's going to get a lot more sophisticated, right? A lot more complex and easy for a bad actor to use and very hard for defenders, to protect their organization assets. That I would say, right? We're living in a hyper-connected world. We talked about, increasing the overall attack surface have changed, right? And just, before COVID and after COVID, right? You see a lot more organizations leveraging, SaaS tools or, other tools, right? So with increasing of IT, OT, smart devices, AI, you name it, right? We are in increasingly hyper-connected world, and so the threats are also increasing. And so the type of threats, we are going to be dealing with is also going to be increasing. With every new device that is plugged into organization, it opens up a new attack vector. And so that is going to be the nature of it. One thing I would say is, I would say that, the physical warfare I think is going to change quite a bit into more of a digital warfare. Nation states are going to be leveraging cyber, to do warfare, right? It's very easy to click on a button and then launch a campaign that, attacks a nation, right? Whether it is utilities, whether it is, telecom, whether it is, energy sector, and we are seeing threats, right? Colonial pipeline, whether it is T-Mobile, or telcos like T-Mobile, right? Whether it is, attacks on water utilities in multiple different states. And we're seeing that, increasingly. I would say that, one of the things that actually is going to probably happen, which I feel that with a very good confidence level, I can say is Mehmet, regulations are going to tighten, right? Because now, especially after SolarWinds and other incidents, what we're seeing is that it's not just a cybersecurity issue or a tech issue, but it's become a legal issue too, right? So it's like, seatbelts. So if you don't have a right cybersecurity, right, you probably will be against law. Just like if you don't wear a seatbelt, it's against the law. If you don't have the right cybersecurity, it's going to be against the law. So you will see increasingly the government regulations are going to change where the board is going to be responsible. Like, a CISO is now at the, risk of, of a huge issue. Like if he or she doesn't make, pay attention to the cybersecurity
Right.
or cyber hygiene, I would say.
Absolutely, yeah. And by the way, no one has a crystal ball, especially in cybersecurity. I know this, Kiran, because I think what I tell people from my point of view, because I work on both sides, and I see it from technical perspective, I see it from business perspective. For bad actors, it's a lucrative business, actually, right? So it's an easy way to generate money. And, as you said, they're leveraging AI and people are paying majority of the time the ransom because they want to get back to business as fast as possible. So, they're saying, why not? Like, okay, so if we can get this money very easily, why not do it, right? And they can hide. And I think, the emergence also of the cryptocurrencies and you cannot track them back and so on and so forth. It's making this easy for them. So absolutely. Um, Shifting a little bit gear again, Kieran, with you. So you come, from a CTO position before, but you were working, I believe, in state of Arizona, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's correct.
And then you shifted to be a co-founder. So this is a huge move, and it's like a it's a giant leap, frogging from something to something different. So walk me through like what also attracted you to be a co-founder, moving from, I would say, more or less stable job, and like such a so tell me more and walk me through the experience that you had.
Entrepreneurship is not for the faint of the heart. It's not a bed of roses. I can tell you that. No, my word. It's never was the intent. Right? It's not like a straight path of, hey, I want to be a co-founder. Or, I want to start my own company or anything like that. Right? I wasn't even thinking about becoming a CTO of any organization. It just, it was just, happen, over a period of time, right? And I was the CTO for State of Arizona for almost 7 years. I call it as, I did my tour of UK. It's an amazing place to learn intricacies of working in a public sector. It's a very stable job. But every single day, one thing I would tell you, Mehmet, is, we would get into the office and say, don't tell me that there is a breach, right? Don't tell me that there is a breach. At one point, my colleague and who also Peer's business partner, like, he was the CIO for State of Arizona. He was doing a search for a cybersecurity breach, and the CISO photo from state of Utah popped up, right? And so then the conversation turned to be, when do we quit our jobs before we become a Google search, image for a cybersecurity? Because, I don't want my face to be the one when cybersecurity breaches happen, right? That's my position, right? So we actually were talking about cybersecurity before cyber became such a, bad, like, I would say that, so the risk from cybersecurity became, so complicated and so bad, right? The risks were there, but I would say that, sophistication, the complexity, the number of attacks actually have increased in the last 10 years since I left the state. So, I always had this mind of, I want to focus and I want to learn more about it, right? And then suddenly we, came to this opportunity of starting an organization, with cyber focus, right? And also that's how I, started the company, with other co-founders, and, the rest is, it's very history. But, it's again, right, understanding, right, just like the state of Arizona, when I was there, like, I felt like, organizations, every size, every scale, every type of vertical are facing these issues. So, you know, I felt that there is a good opportunity. And I would say that with the, with the intersection of AI, with the intersection of cloud and intersection of cybersecurity, like there are some interesting problems to solve, right? Because each one, like, organizations can easily come up with solutions without a huge investments into cloud, right? Cloud actually changed how you actually deploy products and how organizations come up with ideas and see them to fruition. AI, I would say that, it's impacting every single, individual, I would say, if they are not seeing it, right, they're still using it, AI behind the scene, they probably just don't know about it, right? And cyber is impacting every single day. So I would say it's a really interesting, intersection with these three. And I'm just fortunate to have experience with all of those three, and, being here at our organization to leverage my skills and background and provide that, insights, into the products and services we're building.
Amazing. Like what a journey. And as you said, it's not like for everyone. And absolutely, Kiran. Um, as we're wrapping things up, like if I want to ask you, Kiran, like what would be your advice? I'm gonna ask you for two people, right? So first, for people who want to be in the cybersecurity space. So, what one final piece of advice you can give them, and one final piece of advice for people who have this itch to start something and become entrepreneurs. So
Sure.
it's gonna be like two branches.
Yep. So I'll start with the cybersecurity first, right?
Sure.
I would say that cybersecurity, just like any other tech field, it's not a solo sport. And, and what I mean by that is, it's for everybody, right? As organizations are thinking about, hey, how do I secure? As an individual, you also have to be worried about how do I secure my digital presence, right? As an individual, you're using lots of different social media, right? Or, you're using a lot of increasing number of, tools like SaaS tools and everything, right? So it's both, for, individuals and organizations, and the team sport, I would say, right? Your digital life, as a personal, individual is as precious, as a company, I would say. And everybody is a potential target, right? Today ransomware groups are attacking companies, so that because they know that there is money to be made, right? Pretty soon, I would say that, it's going to evolve where they're going to probably start targeting individuals too. Maybe start with high net, worth individuals and go after them before they come to other individuals. I would say that, that is probably going to happen, because if there is money to be made, why would a ransomware group or somebody, would not take advantage of it? I would say, right? So I would say that, again, stay secure, but also, like, let's just make sure that you're together, right? We make this as a safer place. There's like secure by design, security awareness, whole bunch of it, and all of those apply not just for organizations but also individuals. Like, think twice before you actually post anything, right? In terms of, folks that want to get into a starting a business or anything like that, right? Like I said, it's not for the faint of heart, but you will love it, right? Every single day is amazing. There are ups and downs, with co-founding a company or starting a company. But, would I do it? 100%. Like, there is ton of fun. And also every single day you have a challenge, and, you're trying to figure out, how do I solve it, right? If you have that built in, right, I would say that, go for it, right? And I would say, what I would say is that, especially if you're looking at, doing something in technology, right? Technology evolves, but the core of what we do is always about solving human problems, right? At the end of the day. So just curious, stay curious, stay learning, and never underestimate, like make sure that you have a team around you, right? Because there are times where we feel like maybe this is not for me, right? You need that shoulder. Maybe it's a business partner, maybe a colleague, maybe there's a team that helps you say, no, you're going in the right direction. Let's keep pushing through it. Let's plow through it, right? So yeah, I would say that, the exciting times, there's a lot of exciting, interesting ideas I'm seeing, especially with AI. So I would say this is a really good time for anybody to start a company, but just be aware that it's not going to be easy journey.
Absolutely. It's not an easy journey, 100%, Kiran. Um, your experience, your way of, what I like really today, Kiran, is the way you explain things. I think everyone, easily can understand what you're talking about, because I love this approach when, especially cybersecurity is it's a complex field by itself. But of course, maybe because I come from technical background, but really, it made it much easier. And of course, I believe you also contributed in raising the awareness about the current cyber threats, because it's important for business leaders as well. Of course, like as you said, there's no CISO who would like to have his or her photo to be appearing on the first search on Google, 100%. But yeah, like I think this kind of awareness and the empathy I saw in the way you are telling us about these threats, Kiran, is like really, it affected me honestly. So thank you for sharing that with us. um, Tell me how people can get in touch and how they can get to know more about you and about Securin.
Yep. Again, appreciate the feedback, and what I thoroughly enjoyed, talking to you and be on the call with your listeners. And easy way to get in touch is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where we actually constantly post updates about any emerging threats, any new vulnerabilities, anything in the cybersecurity. If you want to learn anything about Securin, again, go to LinkedIn. That's, I would say, subscribe to our organization, follow, and and all of it. I would say that's the number one place to go. Securin.io, securin.io. That's the URL for the company website if you're interested in cruising and understanding, what type of articles, resources that we may have, products and services that we may have to offer.
Great. I would make sure they don't have to go and replay what you just mentioned. So I will make the audience lives easy. Again, I put it in the show notes. So if you're listening on your favorite podcasting app, you're going to find it in the show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to find it in the description. Kiran, again, thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And thank you for also the feedback. And this is how usually I end every episode. This is for the audience. If you just discovered this podcast by luck, thank you for passing by. I hope you enjoyed. If you did so, give us a thumb up, subscribe, and share it with your friends and colleagues. And if you are one of the people who keeps coming back, send me their feedback, their questions. Thank you for doing so. I really appreciate that. And also, I appreciate any suggestion, that you have. You want me to do something different, you want me to get a special guest on the show, please feel free to do so. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll be again in a new episode very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.